I want to change lives. I want to show people how to progress in their money. I want to show people how to progress in their mindset. I want to show people how to progress in their brand so that way they can take care of their family, take care of their finances, and experience freedom.
Welcome to another episode of the Dreamcatcher Show. Dreamcatchers, you need to buckle up right now because this episode, I promise you, is going to be straight fire. You're going to want to bring a pen and a piece of paper. Sit down, get ready to take some notes because today we have an amazing guest. We have an author, a speaker, a serial entrepreneur, the founder of Progression Conference, a coach, a mentor. Literally, you went from dead broke, living in the hood, college dropout, to making millions of dollars in sales. Andy, man, I am so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Man, John, thank you so much for having me on your show, man. I'm so excited to be on your episode.
That's awesome, man. Well, let's do this. Let's actually, because our audience, I know your story. Our audience, our dream catchers don't. Would you mind jumping into things for us and kind of just giving us a rundown? First question I got, and this is powerful. At what age did you make your first meal, man?
21.
That's what I thought. And if you wouldn't mind taking us back before, going ahead and writing the books, before being a speaker, a coach, a mentor, all of that, what was it like growing up?
It was definitely. No, here's the thing, man. Like, as much I want to say how painful it is, it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yep, of course, man.
And it wasn't until I got out of the water. I made a comment when I was 21 and I moved to California. And I said it's like a fish in dirty water. If a fish is born in dirty water, the fish doesn't know that it's in dirty water.
Yeah, of course.
Just in the water. It's just in water.
Yep.
But at some point when they transition out of the dirty water and they go to clean water, it's like, oh shit, like it's different. So my home, my environment was a survival area. It was just a place to survive. So we weren't focused on thriving. It was just, can I make it home? Mm-hmm. Like I just want to go home. There's so many times, John, at night where I would see gangs jumping people, where I would see people with guns, where I would see people with drugs or doing drugs. And then I as I got older, I ended up getting into that lifestyle. But where I was just saying to myself, I just want to get home. Mm-hmm. Like I pushed it to the edge. So I want you to imagine a young boy where my mom is praying for me, my grandma's praying for me. Mm-hmm. And then my mom finally gets to a point where I'm 13, 14, 15 years old, and she lets me go out into the wild, into the jungle. And knowing that I have that love at home or that type of energy at home, mm-hmm. I'm out in these streets, and there's so many times where I'm like, I just want to get home. Please don't let me die tonight, or please don't let me go to jail tonight. So many times that feeling resided in my stomach.
That's huge, man. That is massive. For you though, where did was it watching your mom or your grandmother?
These podcasts, man, like over the last we're gearing up for the huge launch of the Progression Conference National Tour, as well as my personal brand. Really growing this year, so I'm doing a lot of podcasts. Just today I have 4 scheduled, just to give you an example. And man, like these stories, man, that I go back there. Let me tell you, John, I shut it out for a long period of time. Like I was very numb. Early before we started the show, we were talking about emotions and stuff, and I shut out a lot of my emotions. And I even shut out, how do I say it, like a lot of my past and the pain that I experienced, so I don't have to deal with it. And like doing all these shows, man, and when I started doing podcasts and interviews, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, I would only highlight the good stuff. I never went back. So when people would ask me questions about like my past, I'd be like, oh, like I had a story, like I had a script where it was like, came from an impoverished area, 19 years old, someone believed in me, 21, started, made money, moved to Cal. I had a script that I would just repeat on every podcast. then there's someone who's in my circle who's very popular in the social media space, and then he comes from a similar background, and me and him had a one-on-one talk, and he was like, "Yo, man, you gotta let the people really know, and like you gotta go deep." And I remember when he told me that, and I was actually recording a podcast for him, and I just started to cry.
Mm.
I just started to cry because I was like, "Yo, you're making me break. You're not making me, but I'm breaking down walls that I put up
Yeah.
toward the past." That I'm like, I would be forgetting. Like I literally forgot a lot of my past, and then recently I started releasing what I experienced. So like I just did a Facebook Live the other day, and I was sharing. I was like, man, I've stolen cars. I've gotten pulled over. I gotten take out the car, pulled over for driving while black in an environment, and having drugs in the car and things of that nature. And nights where it was actually just one night where one of my employees, and we'll go into my story and you can interview me however you like, but there was this one night where it was Halloween, October 31st, 2015. I bought too much alcohol. I bought one big Ciroc bottle, and I thought that everyone was gonna be drinking that night, so I brought two big Ciroc bottles, like I don't know what size, but it's about this big.
Yeah.
And we all drank one together in unison, and everyone didn't want to drink the other one. Now I didn't want to walk around with another Ciroc bottle, so I literally chugged it as much as I could. And this is so irresponsible, but I drank so much alcohol that it just didn't hit me as soon. And that's how alcohol works. The vodka didn't hit me as soon as I thought. So I realized I'm not drunk, so I kept on drinking more. I'm halfway through the bottle, just by myself. And then there's a guy who walks up to me. I walk into a party now. So I'm with my friends. I walk into a party. For some reason, there's a guy who just pushes me. And my fucking self want to push him back. Mm-hmm. And so I push him back. And ironically, the guy who just saved my life just called me right now. And he just called me right now. He said, let's talk. And I said, I'm doing a podcast. I'm going to call you back. But I told him, so the dude pushes me. I push him back with my left hand. And naturally, I have the bottle in my right hand. So I'm holding it at the cap. And I start sliding it up in my palm, because I'm about to bash the guy in the face with the lower part of the bottle. And then this dude's pushing me, and I push him back. I'm like, what's up, nigga? What's up? And as I clench the bottle, my best friend comes behind me, grabs my chest, and he's like, yo, he's drunk, let him go. And he pulls me away, and I'm like this. He pulls me away. Well, during that little scuffle, what I didn't know was that we're in a house with we're in a small apartment in the hood, like in a hood. Like it's a small rinky dinky apartment, wood floors. The house is probably 80, 90 years old, and floors creaking, but there's 100 people partying. There's a DJ, lights going, and little did I know, 2 days later, that somebody pulled a gun out. Like it was in the back. And he saw me scuffling, and that dude was part of a gang. And someone pulled a gun out, thinking that I was in opposition, thinking that I was a threat to their gang, not even to the person, but to their gang. And he was ready to fire on me. And then to that guy who pulled the gun out, now this environment that happens often. Like every month, someone's on a T-shirt because of someone's dead. And so 2 days later, one of my employees at my store, she says to me, yo, Andy, were you at this party, bro? Like, were you at this party? I was like, yeah, I was. How do you know? Yo, let me tell you what happened. My boyfriend saw you. His friend pulled the gun out. But because he knew that I worked for you, because my boyfriend knew that I worked for you, he told him to put the gun down. That's not the guy you want to mess with, because that's Andy. He works. He's my girl's boss. So had I not been that business owner, I would have likely been a victim of a crime. And I'm thinking about all these things, and they're just pouring into my head now, man.
No, hey, first off, Andy, I appreciate you being open and real on that, man. Because here's what I want to share with you, right? You obviously don't know my story, but I went 30 years being somebody that I thought everybody else wanted me to be. Being this persona that was like, I grew up in a highly religious family, was constantly taught that, not by my parents, but just the environment that I was in, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough, that didn't matter how much accomplishments I got, I wasn't going to ever amount to what I needed to be to feel worthy. I got to the age of 30, constantly pushing my dream off, not believing in who I was, constantly looking for the next relationship, the next accomplishment, and got to the point where I lost a 13-year relationship. I'm now living in a 750 square foot apartment, no furniture, nothing, living on the floor. Don't even want to bring my kids upstairs to take a look at where daddy is now because he's fallen so far. It took me 3 years to get out of the depression of who am I? Because I thought I knew who I was, but who am I and how do I discover who I actually am? And there is power, Andy, in your story. Yeah, everybody sees what, the suit, the tie, everybody sees like who you are now, but going back and sharing who you were to where you are now, what it does is it inspires your community to understand, hey, you see me where I'm at right now. You know what I'm doing and where I'm going. Let me teach you, though, that hasn't always been the case. I've been the guy that was praying to get home at night. I've been the guy that didn't know if I was going to make it out of that party. I've been the guy that was, being pulled over and doing that. If that is you, then guess what? You can also do what I've done. This whole show, the Dreamcatcher Show, is solely started so that I could have a conversation with my 10-year younger self and say, John, you don't have to wait until there's X in the bank. You don't have to wait until you've got a title. Start now. And so I really appreciate, man, I thoroughly appreciate that you went into that story because I know how easy it is to just put up the wall of, yeah. Let's not really talk about that. Let's talk about what I'm doing right now.
Right on, man. Right on.
I appreciate it, man. Let's jump then into like where how did that transition happen for you, man?
Transition from where?
Like you're in that space where, like, when I look at you now, I see a super mentally strong guy, right? You've done some amazing transformation in your life from, you posted when it was the beginning of 2020, you posted, this was me back in the day in 2009. This is me now. Look at what a decade can make. And it's inspiring to see
when I was in Forbes.
No, yeah, but you were in Forbes, but I'm even more talking about from the guy that was, 15, 16, dead broke, dropping out of college to where you are now. How did that transition happen for you, man?
Yeah, I mean, the story is, I think I made a decision. Because I remember laying down on my mom's bed and with my laptop on my chest, and I was just like, yo, there has to be something better than this, man. There has to be, there has to be something better than this environment that I'm in. Like, I'm in a fucked up place. And I remember laying down on my bed, and to the left there's a wall with a window, and down the street was not so nice place. And I remember saying, I'm scared that there's a bullet that's gonna come through the window. I remember and it was that window, and I heard stories about shots ringing out in people's homes. Not even not even targeting the home, like beef on the streets, and then just so like that. And I remember laying down, I was like, yo, I gotta get out of here. And I just didn't know where. So I would just type in like different places that I would hear on TV. So it would be like Los Angeles, or what the hell's in Los Angeles? Never been there. Oh, Beverly Hills. Oh shit, Rodeo Drive. And and ended up finding out it's Rodeo Drive, and type in. So it started with a vision first and foremost. This is 10 years ago. So it started with the vision where I said, yo, there's something better. There's something better. I don't know what it is, but there's something better. So I started Googling stuff, and then I started seeing pictures and videos of lifestyles. And I remember thinking of other kids, like their experience growing up, and I still think about it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I live in downtown Los Angeles. Right down the street is where LeBron and Kobe play for the at the Staples Center. I live half a mile away from there, and I would think when I was on the East Coast, I would think about their experience growing up. Like I'm talking about like the 15-year-old growing up in California, thinking that their life was always better. You know, the grass was green on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that feeling, which was that feeling must be good. I wanted that feeling because where I'm at now, I'm scared. My 15-year-old self, I'm scared. So the vision wasn't more so of seeing, it was more so of feeling. And I think that's where the difference between what makes people successful and what doesn't is that when people talk about vision, they're talking about, okay, I see it. But what we as humans naturally and innately do is we want to experience feeling. We want to experience emotion. So we would drive 6 hours to go see a woman or a man that we really like because the feeling that we'll get when we see that person and with that person, it'll give us a good feeling. We'll pay money for an iPhone because the feeling that it gives us when we know we can't afford it. We'll pay to go to a concert because of the feeling. So I had a feeling that success felt good, that it felt better than this. So it's not that I saw it, I felt it. And then, so I would strive to experience that feeling. Then I always talked about success because I said, I want that feeling. So I'm 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, high school, talking to people in my school about success. Like, yo, do you know what it'll feel like to not be scared? Do you know what it will feel? And that was the mindset of the others in my environment was saying, yo, bro, I don't know about that shit. All I know is what we have here. I don't know about your Google do that shit. All I know is what I have here. I know when I walk up the block, I know exactly how to protect myself. I know that. I'm aware. I'm acute. I know that. But when you're talking about success, I have no clue. So other people didn't want to feel with me. You know, that's what it means when I feel you. People didn't want to feel with me about success. So it was a lonely journey. So then at 19, I met somebody who happened to be in my high school who I didn't really connect with. You know, it's very ironic. I was one of the popular dudes and I played basketball. I was one of those guys. And there were other groups. There was the Rockheads. You know how high school is. There was someone from the Latin community who I didn't associate with. I just sold him products, but I didn't associate with him really as friends. He ended up being the person that ended up feeling me after we graduated high school. So throughout high school, I'm not associating with this guy, but he ended up feeling me and said, hey man, I see you being successful and I want to be successful with you. I'm on the same wavelength. I feel you, you feel me. Let's be successful together, but you're the leader. I'm allowing you to lead. So I opened up a business at 19. I opened up a cell phone store. And after I opened up that cell phone store, we go through trials and tribulations for the first couple of months, but within 6 months, I made my first $100,000. And I was blown away. Then I started listening to personal development and people who were much more successful. So I wanted to 10x my goal. Because my goal at the time that I remember writing this goal down January 2014. I said, I feel like I felt it that in June, I would open up the business. So January, I wrote it. June 1st, I opened up the business. In January, so if you go back, in January, I wrote down, I'll have a second location in the works by Q1 2015. So a year later. December 22nd, I signed a contract for my second location and I did a deal with T-Mobile. Bro, I'm 19 years old. And T-Mobile is, this big company. I'm doing deals with them. You know? And I truly believe it was because I felt I knew what I wanted to get. And I was clear on number one. And I had that feeling and I got it.
So before we go into, because I want to dive into that a little bit further, because that progression where you move to actually getting the business is insane as well, Andy. Dreamcatchers, I want you to hear something, right? The question that I asked him was, Andy, how did you go through that transformation? You're in this place where everybody is just trying to survive versus thriving, which oftentimes, like Dreamcatchers, you'll be in the same environment. You'll just be in an environment that's survival versus thriving. And literally, this is key. This is massive. I want you to hear what Andy just said. It started with having a vision. Then he felt that vision. Then, even if it was just one guy, he started to surround himself with somebody else that was going in the same trajectory as he was, wanting to go after that success. They both wanted success. Then he dived into personal development and started to develop who he was because he wanted that success. And then he continued to write down goals. That is huge, dream catchers, if you're trying to go through your own transformation. Andy, talk to me though. Go ahead.
I'll give you the system, man. I'll give you the system. My wallet is not in my pocket, but I would have pulled out the paper. I still have one to this day. You got to go to a quiet place. Yeah. And you got to ask God, what do you want me to do? And it's probably going to be the clearest. Now, here's the reason people don't hit targets. It's because you're unclear. So people sway. You sway back and forth. You got shiny object syndrome. One day you're a real estate agent. 2 months later you're in a multi-level marketing group. The next day you're selling cell phones, and then 3 months later, you sway back and forth. You got shiny object syndrome. Go in a quiet place. Get on your knees and ask God, yo, God, what do you want me to do? And I bet you it's something that you can't even fathom.
Yep.
It's something so big you can't fathom. And then once you write it down, you're gonna say it's impossible. But once you have that feeling, you actually feel it, and you're like, all right, man, it's impossible, but I feel what it's gonna be like when I get there. I'm aiming for that feeling. Watch what happens, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing that I love about your story, Andy, is so I'm an international New York Times bestselling author. Mm-hmm. Not yet, but I am.
I believed it.
Yeah, amen.
When you told me that, I had nothing else to do. I believed it. So John, I'm gonna treat you like one. I'm gonna treat you as one. I'm gonna be like, yo, hey bro, let's do a deal as because you're one. And so you gotta proclaim that. That's awesome, John, that you did that.
Absolutely, man. And the thing that I love about your story is you didn't just have a vision, but you walked out the steps to get you closer to that vision. Because before you opened your business, weren't you working in sales?
Yeah, I was. I'm only on I'm on like a 9-year run right now. So everything has I've only been I'm 25, so I've only been an adult for 7 years, and been in business for 6 in total. So every year has its own story of growth, right? It's not like, oh, I did this for 15 years. It's like it's like 1 year after 1 year did this, that helped me progress. So 17, I'm thinking about I need to get a job. And so I work at Wendy's. I worked at different clothing stores and so on and so forth. But I'm working a job where it's hourly. At a clothing store that I worked at, they had an incentive, and the incentive was to give the membership cards away. It was free. And the more people that you gave it away to that activated the free membership card by giving us the email, I was able to choose my hours. So I would just say, hey, do you want a card? And essentially I was closing people on giving me the email address, and I had the most people subscribed. So they said, hey, you choose your hours. I said, hey, it's Sunday time and a half. I get paid $8, but if I work on Sundays, I get paid $12 per hour. And they're like, yeah. I said, give me all of Sunday, man. Give me all of Sunday. I want work open and close. So I learned something. I learned that results meant more money for me.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't want to do the hourly thing. I want to do the commission thing. I heard about this commission. So I go to T-Mobile and I say, hey, I'm 18 years old, 17 years old. Give me a job. And they laugh at me and they're like, no, we want people full-time, out of high school. You're in high school. No way. So I go to the next best thing. Across the street, I go to Metro PCS. I'm working at Metro PCS, and crazy story, John. This is great for your dream, for your people. I'm working. I go to Metro PCS. I go hand in my application to a guy, a big chubby guy, and the big chubby guy says, "Oh, I'll give you your application. I'll give you your application. Don't worry about it." So I give him my application. Then I go down to another Metro PCS and I give them my application. Then I go up to another Metro PCS in another area, give them my application. Walking in a nice polo, right? Little did I know, a year later, 6 months later, I ended up finding out that they were all connected by that. They all had the same owner. Okay. But here's what happened. The first one that I went to, the guy threw away my application.
Oh man.
He threw away my application. I found that out later. And you know how I found that out? When I was his manager. So I gave him my application. Then I go to the second location. I gave her, and she saw me. And she said, "Hey, I'm the manager here. I'm looking for a new person. You look like you're coming in a polo, tucked in shirt. I like you. Let's hire you." So she hired me. They trained me. This is the busiest store. They trained me. I'm working at the busiest store. I have my little customer base. I'm there for 3 months. Got my little customer base. I got my crew. Every Friday we have a pizza party. I love this, man. It's a new job. Oh my gosh, I'm an adult. This is amazing. I get a phone call from the regional director, and he says, "Andy, I'm going to move you to the slow store. The one that guy threw away my application. I'm going to move you over there." I said, "I don't want to go over there, man." I don't want to go there, man. Come on, man. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I don't want to go there. He said, "I need you to go over there." And I said, "All right, man, how long? Like for a day, for 2 days, how long?" He says, "I'm moving there permanently." I said, "Rob, no, I can't go there, Rob." He said, "You got to go there." So I hung up. I said, "Okay, great. Thank you, Rob." Pissed off as hell. I go to my manager at my store and I'm like, "Hey, man, like, I really don't want to go to the store." And like, man, like that's what the boss said, So I'm pissed off. I go there. Once I'm there, little did I know that in this adversity was the best thing that was actually happening for me. This was the slowest producing store. But not only was it the slowest producing store, right behind the store was the CEO's office.
Oh, wow.
So essentially what happened was it was compartmentalized into 3 sections. All the way in the back was the inventory for about 10 locations. Okay, for 10 stores throughout the state. This little back office was the inventory place. In the middle, there was a door that separated it, was the corporate office where the office manager would work, the CEO would work, the assistant, all that would work. Then in the front they just said, "Hey, we have the space, turn it into a store." So it wasn't a focus on being a store. It just happened. They just make that into a store. Put up some.
Listen, we've already got the space.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with it? Might as well turn it into a location.
So I'm there. Now here's the thing. I just came from one of the top producing stores. So what I'm used to is success. I'm used to having commission every week. I'm used to people walking in. So I try to recreate that feeling that I once had. This podcast is about feeling, being in the feeling. Get in your feelings, John. And especially, the fact that I told you I was essentially emotionless before we started the show is very interesting. But getting your feelings, because once I did the deal, once I was at the first store, and that first store was high success, I knew what it felt like to be successful in that little bubble. So in that second store, what I got moved to, which was the slowest producing store out of all 10 locations, I felt that it was improper. This is why when I visualized, and this is before I opened myself.
Yeah, of course.
This is why when I visualized that success and I felt it, I knew what I was aiming for.
Yeah, it was a game changer for you.
So in the second store that I'm operating, I'm now like running it. I'm an 18-year-old dude running this store because they don't give a fuck about the store. Like it's like, it's like, hey man, like it don't matter. So hey, let an 18-year-old run it. So I'm going out, passing out flyers. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm going to the gas station. Like, hey, yo, come over here, get a phone. I'm putting my car outside with a big ass sign. I'm saying phones. I'm trying all these different marketing strategies. I'm on Craigslist. I'm on Facebook. I'm texting people. I get the store popping. People are coming in. The phones are turning. And they're like, yo, what did you do? I said, man, I was pushing and pushing and pushing. This all happened within 180 days while I'm in high school. So I turned the store to number 1. But not only that, here's the kicker for me. Before I met the CEO, I knew the CEO worked there, but I didn't know who the CEO was. I knew his name. So what happened was there was a dude that walked in one day, So this is my second week working there. There's a dude that walked in. He got a nice fancy suit, earrings in, bald head. And he walks in through the back, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm being robbed. Like this is like the nicest. Like this black guy walks in with earrings and with a phone, and I'm like, the confidence just walked back there. I'm thinking we're being robbed in the nicest way. little did I know that was the owner. I go to the office manager, and she's like, "That's the owner." And I said, "Yo, you're telling me the owner's black? Like where I am in the area that I come from, but." When I see people like that, I only associated drug dealers. Like, he black? And he, like, successful? Legit business? And he still got that look? Oh, my gosh. Like that, I was attracted to, now I want to be a boss. I'm attracted to how I want to be a boss. So I go to him, and I'm like, yo, teach me the game. So successful people always want to be teachers. They always want to teach what they went through. So I said, all right, man. I start go asking questions. Hey, man, what are you doing? Oh, this is payroll. This is how payroll operates. Okay. Oh, man, this person walked in happy and they walked out crying. What happened? They got fired. Why they got fired? Oh, okay. How do you fire somebody? Okay, great. So now that person got to get replaced. So I see a group of people the next day coming in for interviews. Oh, how do you interview people? Oh, let me show you. Oh, damn. So I'm learning subconsciously how to run a business, payroll.
Yeah, of course.
Fire people. Then within, I don't know, maybe 2 months, somebody from the mall, one of the mall locations, now the company grew to 22 locations within months, okay? So now we're at 22 locations. So somebody at one of the malls is fucking up. They're fucking on the job. So they're like, who do we replace that person with? The regional says, put Andy in that position. Yo, he 18. What are you talking about? Like, you got 36-year-olds that work there, 40-year-olds that work there. Yeah, but this is the slowest producing store, man. What else could happen? What else could happen? So they said, hey, man, throw that dude in the fire. So I remember saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to go, man. I've been working at this store. But what happened was I realized I didn't want to go because I had security. The CEO was always back there. If I ever messed up, they were always there. I remember being scared about getting robbed and stuff. I was like, yo, there's always people back there. So I'm good. Now they're actually sending me to a store far away from support, far away from advice, far away from guidance. I'm really going into the trenches where I'm there to run a store. And on top of that, they gave me employees that were like insubordinate, that they didn't want to be there. They're 40 years old, they're 36 years old, they're like down on life, and they're like, I'm selling phones now. So now I'm 18 coming in, I'm telling these people what to do. And they're like, yo, who the hell do you think you are? So I remember I go to my leader, which he doesn't work at my store, he just goes around to all the stores, he's a regional. Yep. And I said, what do I do? He said, clean house. I said, enough said, bro, enough said. So I fired everybody. I literally just fired everybody. It was one of the most disheartening things I did. Fired everybody, fired everyone. I put on Instagram. I said, hey, I'm looking for people to work for me. Come to this place to get an interview. That guy from my school who was in the Latin group saw me on Instagram, came in, got put in an application. I hired him because we came from the same school. So now it's 2 18-year-olds run in the store, plus a couple of other people who are a little bit older, and we made that store number 2.
Dude, that's awesome. What a story. How did you build your own personal business from that? Because there's a lot, like you talked about like that, and then you've had years upon years of different progressive moving forward. How did your business come from that?
Yeah, great question, man. Well, whenever I realized, and I look back, whenever I felt uncomfortable, I realized success came out of it in the long run. Like, I'm like looking back, I'm like, I felt uncomfortable to go to the first store, but then I made that store into a good store and I got mentorship. That was a good thing. I'm happy I moved forward. Okay, I felt uncomfortable in this deal, moving to the second store, to the mall, but I'm by myself. I wasn't comfortable, but success came out of it. So now that Latin guy, he ended up telling me, we're at the gym. So now he works for me at the Metro PCS, and we ended up working out together. So we're at the gym, and he says, "Man, I think you should open up your own spot." So I go to T-Mobile, and Metro PCS and T-Mobile are joined at this time. So I go to T-Mobile, and I'm like, "Hey, I want to open up a location." They say, "Okay, great. Choose a zip code." So I choose the zip code, and they're telling me you can't have a store within 2 miles of any other Metro PCS. So I'm looking at all of my states, and they're like, "Nope, you can't do that. Nope, there's one of that. Nope, 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 nope." So a bunch of no's. So they tell me I got to go to Massachusetts. So it's like a 40-minute drive. Now, in my area where I was raised in a 1 square mile environment where my city was 1 square mile, 40-minute drive was like it's like going towards another state.
It's like
Now,
going to the moon, going to another planet. That's what it's like. Yeah.
So I essentially told them, I said, "Look, T-Mobile, doing this deal with T-Mobile Metro PCS is not going to work for me. I got to go and start a new carrier." So what I did was I took the systems that I learned from Metro PCS, and this is what we call in the industry MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators, which is essentially one guy who says, "Hey, I got a contract with a carrier, and we'll just sell SIM cards." So that's when you go into like the convenience stores and you see like those little small SIM cards that doesn't have a brand. It's just like a small SIM card, and then you can just pop it in, pay as you go. I took that and I made it into like a whole branded store, like a whole branded store. And I took everything I learned from Metro PCS and I applied it here. And that's why I became successful.
Dude, that is so cool. That is awesome. And it's funny that you learned along the way that got you to that position. What made you decide to get out of that and get into personal development, writing your books, doing conferences, like helping other business owners? How did you get into that space?
So I wrote a book called No More Average. Mm-hmm. So when I moved, at 19 to 21, I'm operating a store. So this is a couple years, okay? I'm operating the businesses. I get up to 4 locations. I have 4 locations. I ended up, T-Mobile saw what I was doing, and they ended up saying, "Hey, we got something for you." Because essentially what happened was that mall that I got transferred to, I opened up my store right across the hall from them, and that was competition. And so I was taking customers. So they, instead of going against me, they're like, "Hey, we'll work with you." Okay. So then they end up contacting me. We did a deal. Like it was a good deal. And I signed the second, that was my second store. Okay. So I opened up my second store. Now here's the kicker. What happened was, as I opened up my second store, I realized the responsibility that I had to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So it was uncomfortable to open up a second store. I remember this contract. I'm telling you, like, I'm now 20 years old, signing this contract with a lease, with saying that I'm going to pay a bill to suit, which is turning a white wall. They call it white box, which is going to a standalone side, like a store in the side street. It was essentially, the store was a Subway, and we had to knock everything out. Knock out all the stuff in there, take out the carpets, take out everything, and turn it into T-Mobile store.
You had to break it down to the studs is basically what you had to do.
Not even like just the walls, but not the studs, but like took out the flooring, all that stuff. I remember being 20, and I felt like a boss walking in there, but I was nervous. I was scared because I'm walking and I see the people peeling stuff, painting the walls. And I'm like, yo, like, what is going like am I doing the right thing? I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. So I'm at the second store. Remember, like the locations for open up multiple Metro PCS and T-Mobile stores is scarce. So now I'm ready to open up my third store. I can't. There's nowhere for me to open up. I got to leave the state again. So I end up opening the same deal that I had at the first store. Now T-Mobile gave me a pass for my first store. They said it's okay, don't worry about it. But my third store was the same opposing company. So. And I opened it up at another mall right across the hall from the Metro PCS T-Mobile store. And I remember the talk that they had with me. As soon as they found out that it was me, they said, "Oh shit, that there's another cell phone store. Who the fuck is that?" And they had all this commotion. And then they found out it was me. And I'm also within their company. They told me it was like sleeping with the devil. That's what they told me. They said, mind you, I'm like 20. I don't even know what I'm doing, bro. I don't even know that this is wrong. They said it's like sleeping with the devil. Like I'm sleeping with the enemy. Like we're doing business here, but like you're taking away from one of my locations. And then I ended up saying like, hey man, like I got a team to feed. I got a business to grow. I'm not gonna slow down for you. And so I opened up another store right across. Like I just kept on opening up stores, man. And it was successful. But the transition really took place for me, John, when I was running the business and I felt sad. And I was just like, yo, I'm successful. I feel sad. I need to write down what I want in my life. So I created a system called Values of Toil. And it's in my book, No More Average. That's why I brought it up. So I'm in the office. So in these cell phone stores, we had a headquarters. I rented out an office space. So I have people working at the office space. And so I'm in the office and I look at one of the sales managers who ran one of my stores and I said, yo, man, like, what do you want to do in life? Like, besides this, of course. And he's like, I don't know. Maybe create a clothing line. And I said, let's write it down. So I started writing down like the way that my life would be in its prime. What would I be doing for work? And values, if you look up the definition of values, so I'm going to go on Google right now. I'm going to define values. Values is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. And then if you look up the word toil, T-O-I-L, which is work, essentially it's your work or labor. So the standards and principles that I had for my work. So I remember what I wrote down, and it was like, I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to work off a laptop. I want to be able to inspire people. I want to be able to share success. I want to be able to share growth. I want to not be stuck to one state, because the cell phones I had to be stuck to one state or wherever the inventory was. So I remember I was inventoryless. I remember writing that I was inventoryless. So I kept on writing down all of this, and I felt what that felt like. Oh, getting on a plane here, going to do business transaction in Arkansas, then there in Texas, and I felt it. I visualized it and I felt it. Then I said, yep, this is not it for me. The cell phone thing is not it for me, man. And it was so crazy. The business is so successful, man. We know we're just growing and growing, and AT&T came and offered me $135,000 to do business with them now, because they transitioned and purchased a company called Cricket. And I was just like, nah, like what I'm doing is what I want to do in my life is much more valuable.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's how I transitioned out.
That's awesome, man. How did you get into the personal development though?
When I was in college, well, I think I did it for basketball in high school. Like that's where it started, like motivation, because I had to work out.
Yeah, when you were talking to everybody about success and things like that, right, in school?
Yeah, in high school. Yeah. And then, but 2014 is when it started to hit, and it's so crazy, man. I tell you, it's so crazy. I have behind me, there's a bookshelf, and I have a magazine. It's a magazine article. I'm on one side where they ask me like my story and stuff like that, and on the left hand side is Eric Thomas, the motivational speaker, right? So it's me and Eric Thomas there, and this is crazy. Like we were both involved in an event called Thrive, so that's where that magazine comes from. And the crazy thing, man, is in 2014, I'm in my college parking lot, CC Community College of Rhode Island. And I'm in the parking lot. I'm like, yo, do I really want to go in here, man? Like they're talking about running a business, but I got my boss who's teaching me about business. Why would I want to learn from this? No offense, John, but this white guy who makes $40,000 a year, never had a business, and him telling me how to run a business versus this other guy who looks like me, who's running a multi-million-dollar business, and I got to work with him like next to him. I'm listening to Eric Thomas because my mom's telling me to go to college. My dad's telling me to go to college. My family's telling me to go to college. And then all I heard was Eric Thomas. All I heard was personal development. And because of that, because of the personal development, I had a stronger connection to the personal development work versus my family, aunts, uncles. So I decided to drop out. And I opened up the business. So throughout those times, those trying times, because opening up a business, man, I remember there was a time I was in the bathroom crying, man. It sounds cool, right? Like, oh, 6 months, made 100 grand. Like that wasn't just the case, man. Like there was times that I cried. There was times that I questioned life. It was very extreme because that was my reality. I was scared of the contracts that I was signing. Because I don't know what's on the other side. I remember there was times I almost kicked this the door in from one of the offices that I was in, and I remember I almost kicked it in because I was just so paranoid. I was so scared. So and I would effectively be caving in on the inside. So on the outside it looked successful, but in the inside I was caving in. I was so scared. So it looked cool, but really I was always scared. I had cameras in the stores. Like what if someone steals from me? I had $5,000 worth of iPhones in this store. What if one employee just says, fuck it, I'm taking it all and leaving? And I got, $10,000 in that store. I'm like, what if they both talk to each other and they say, fuck it, I'm leaving? Like, what the hell? Like, I'm in a situation, man. I had customers take phones off the rack and run with it, and security chasing them. Like these things I don't really talk about, but it's there. Personal development helped me get through all of that.
Mm.
When I transitioned out of that business, I said I gotta give to others what that gave to me.
Dude, that's powerful. And one of the things that I want to dive a little bit into, Andy, because each part of your stage in life, you've been quote unquote successful where you were at. One of the things that I see from your story is that you don't settle for the success of that stage. You constantly are striving for more. How do you transition, or not even transition, how do you keep going after that next level? How do you keep going, you know what? Yeah, I have my own business, and yes, I'm supporting employees. Now I'm going to do this. And yeah, I've been an author, and yeah, I run conferences, but now I'm going to do this, because you're not stopping, man.
Yeah. I'm actually more scared to stop. And let me tell you why. So now, and it's all in the story. Like everything that I'm amounted to or even understand is because of a story. So when you want to understand the story to really understand the person. So, and you don't know me until you know the story. Like I don't know you, John, until I know the story, what shapes you. So after I experienced the success, my ego's high. I told you I didn't need to go to college. I remember looking at, I love my mom, but I remember looking at, she ran a business. So she got me into the commerce space. Like she got me to online when I was in 5th grade. So she ran a business when I was in 5th grade. And I remember seeing her books, and the books was like that 1 month was like $5,000, And then I was like in shock because that's the first time I saw her books. Now I'm not 5th grade at the time that I saw the books. I saw the books when I was 20 and a half. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, so you made $5,000 that month. I just looked at the numbers on my computer. So far this month, my business has made 90 grand. And I'm not even like cognizant of like the reality of it, John. Like I'm so far removed from it. My dad asked me like, how much do you have in inventory or something of that nature one day? We were in the parking lot. I said, I think I have about like $50,000. Like I'm so far removed from like how like this is more than my household made.
Yeah. And
I'm so far removed that I don't even like, I'm just talking. I'm like, yeah, 50 grand. Like it's just, I'm just throwing money around, So then I looked at the numbers and I'm saying, oh my gosh, you made 5. I'm just this month I'm making 90. This is crazy. This is far. But it's this feeling that I have that I need to progress, man. I need to progress on a daily basis. Like I'm successful, but then when I moved to California and I closed down the business and I said, oh, I'm clear on my values. This is not my values. I don't know. I don't even know you can sell a business. So I didn't try to sell it. So I left the business I closed the business essentially. And I come to California, I'm in Cali, and I'm just chilling, man. I have so much money, man. I just didn't even care to work.
Yeah.
Typical black man's experience when it comes to money. And it's so crazy because I was just listening to something with Kobe, and he was talking about retiring and then him, finding a new hustle. And naturally, I went to, man, you got so much money, why don't you relax?
Mm.
And then I realized my story kicked in real quick. My training, my what happened to me kicked in. Well, essentially, man, I relaxed and the money depleted. It took me a year. I depleted all my money. I depleted all the money that I had. And then now I'm in an apartment where they're telling me I couldn't pay like $1,000, $1,500 for rent. And they're telling me I gotta either pay the rent or in 72 hours, the police will be there. And then I'll have 60 minutes to remove all my stuff when the police comes. And that was what the landlord was telling me. And I thought I was going to be able to use the card of, I'm young. I'm young. Remember I went, and that didn't work. They took me serious. And then I remember I had to go out and hustle. I went out, got the money for, I was selling tickets, and I got the money for rent. And I was like, yo, I will never be here again. I will never touch that. Be that financially hurt again. So it makes sense that now, like when you see people who are 60 years old still pushing, you're scared. They're fearful. There's something that happened in their story. I was watching a video with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart makes millions of dollars. He just got paid $500,000 to speak on someone's stage. And I'm looking at that, and I was watching this video of him. He's like, "Nah, I gotta hustle. I gotta go get it. I gotta push." And then in the story, one of the videos, he mentioned that he was scared to go back to Philadelphia. Yeah. And in my head, in the normal person's head, like, how could you possibly go back to Philadelphia in the hood again from where you're at with your success? And then, but it's truly this innate fear of going back. And now I feel it in my heart that I do not want to go back. I don't see myself stopping. And my intention is to take care of my body, take care of my mind, to the point where I don't stop until I die.
Andy, we were talking about it a little bit off of camera, but I love where you just went, so I want to go there. Kevin Hart and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was and still is. Still is an idol of mine. Kevin Hart is an idol of mine as well, man. The thing that I love when we talk about Kevin Hart, like the docuseries you were talking about, right, is the hustle that guy has, no matter what stage of life he's at. And you look at his, like Dave Chappelle and some of his really good friends, and they're like, Kevin, we wish we had continued to stay hungry like you have. He's not just on stage and being a comedian. He's doing his own movies. He's now running his, Heart Production. He's got all that other stuff that he's doing because he's staying hungry. Literally, I was reading Tony Robbins, and one of the things that he was mentioning, Andy, was when you get stagnant, you start to digress.
Yeah.
That's literally what you were talking about.
Regress. Yeah, you start to regress.
That's right. And you literally said the exact same thing just now. Like, you don't want to go backwards. That's plain and simple. Anybody that you look at that's a dream catcher, that is a successful, ultra successful guy, has that exact same fear and understands if I stop, then there's no more going forward. Now I'm going to start to go backwards.
Yeah, and it's probably like some type of experience that happened in their life, or a story that they were told from a mentor to get the understanding. There's someone that I know who's very successful in the personal development and entrepreneurship space. And in 2008, he was already someone who was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And so he was in a place where he felt comfortable. And in 2008, the crash took place. How do I? And he experienced these challenges in 2008 where the crash took place, and he was getting sued by a bank, and essentially, like, it hurt him. It hurt him and his family. And he didn't have the proper funds. They had to cut back on grocery shopping, the whole 9 yards. And although you have millions of dollars, man, you still got affected where your family had to suffer. So with that experience, what do you think he's doing now in 2020? Man, he's hustling and his portfolio is $1 billion now. Like you go from $1 million to $1 billion. Why? Because you're scared. You're like, yo, I was a millionaire and I was still jacked up. I was a million and I was still jacked up. So you gotta keep progressing on a daily basis.
Amen, man.
You gotta keep progressing, man. Like, and it's the people who say like, once I get $1 million, that's when like you were talking about earlier. It's because you don't understand what actually happens when you make $1 million. Like $1 million is $1,000. You have 1,000 opportunities to spend it. Think about, I just spent $1,000 on an iPhone this week, right? It was almost $2,000 on this fucking big ass phone, and you only have 1,000 opportunities to spend that. And some people are like, all I need is $1 million for my life. I mean, you only have 1,000 opportunities. Just my decision to purchase this one would have been one. And then the same thing goes for this one and this one, right? And so I have all these phones. Each of them cost about $1,000. But then, so that means that as a business owner, as someone who's making money, you realize that you will always be spending money. So are you gonna relax and just keep spending money and get yourself in a bind, or are you still gonna say I need to progress? That's the mindset of progression. Like you gotta go you gotta continue to grow, man. Because if you don't grow, you're hurting yourself. You're hurting humanity. And here's why: humanity part. The humanity part is the fact of when you're hitting your goals, you inspire others. If that guy was at a point where he said, I'm going to retire, even now that my old boss, he's at 100 something, we just had dinner. He's at 100 something locations now throughout the nation. And I was with him when we had 10. If he relaxed then, before he met me, I wouldn't have been inspired. He inspired me to move forward, saying that I went there for a job, but I didn't know I was going to get a life learned lesson. So as you grow and you get successful and hit your targets, hit your goals, you're going to inspire other people. So right now there's somebody who's waiting for you, John, who's either in somebody's stomach, somebody's womb, and about to be born, or there's, he's 5 years old, 10 years old, 20, whatever. They're waiting for you. There's a young girl that's saying, I need a man in my life. And their father's gone, and they're looking at John as the example of a man. And you don't even know it. Like, you're over here doing your podcast, you're doing your speaking, you're doing your books. And a young girl who's 13 sees you and they're like, oh my gosh, like his story, I love it. The way he looks, I love it. That's my point of reference of a man. So when she grows up to be 18 years old and she says, yo, I love you to a man, the real reason subconsciously is because of John, because John showed up. That's why, like, when I look over here and I see purpose, right? Purpose, take advantage of an opportunity of a lifetime. In the lifetime of the opportunity, you have an opportunity right now. So you got to get clear on your purpose, continue to strive for progression. And as you strive for progression, you're going to start realizing that there's people that depend on you. So one of my biggest challenges, right, was the fact that I have man breast, right? So I got man breast. It's called gynecomastia. 13, I was suicidal with it. 14, I'm suicidal with it. 15, I'm going to my mom's laundry. I find a tube top. My mom has a tube top. I put it on. It sucks in my chest. My chest is flat. I feel normal. Oh my gosh, I'm going out tonight. I go out with my friends. I feel normal. The next day, you think I took it off? Nope. And the next day after that, you think I took it off? I finally felt normal. No. For 5 years straight, John, every single day, basketball practice, my first time having sex, driving a car, everything that you could think of that happens between 14 and 19, I'm wearing that thing every single day. I end up getting caught with it at like 16 and a half. My mom says my mom just buys me a new one and throws it on my bed because I was hiding it from everyone. But my mom knew about it and she threw it. So next thing you know, at 19, that guy who believed in me said, Andy, we're a confident man. And what happened was that thing was hurting my back. So I was walking around like this. I was walking around hunch over. And I didn't know, from my point of view, I didn't see it. From the mirror, I didn't see it. Because from the mirror, I just looked like I had a flat chest. I was like, yeah, but my back was hunched over. So the guy who was my right hand, the Latin guy, he said, hey man, put your back straight, posture up. We're confident businessmen now. We're not high schoolers anymore. I said, okay, great. So I realized what was making my back, so I had to let go of that. I was more determined about like the future feeling than my current state of feeling. So I let that go, put my chest up. Now here's the thing, I couldn't take my shirt off. So now I have the confidence, but I still can't take my shirt off and show my chest like I did with you. So then I moved to that's when I moved to California. I got with a girl, and we're in the room. We're doing what men and women do in the room in our private time. And she says, "Why don't you take your shirt off?" And I said, "You want to know the real reason? This is the real reason. I have gynecomastia." She's like, "Oh, like I didn't fucking know. It's hidden. Not you don't hide. You can't hide it in your shirt." And then but she accepted me the way that I was. She accepted me the way that I was, and she put her hand on my chest and said, "I love you." And I said, damn. So that gave me the utmost confidence. I went outside the next day. I went to the beach for the first time, took my shirt off at 20, 21, going on 22, take off my shirt at the beach, walking around with crazy confidence. Now I take my shirt off at the gym, so on and so forth. But here's what I did not know. I put it on social media. Men were watching me on social media. Men came out of the woodworks and was like, yo, Andy, I had the same thing. I follow you, man. You gave me permission to do the same thing as well. You gave me permission to take off my shirt. People who are much older than me, people with wives, people with kids that were still suffering, hiding because they felt less of a man. And once I decided to live on purpose and experience the feeling of being confident, I didn't realize I was affecting other people. So as you start to strive towards who you're supposed to be, other people are going to be affected by you, whether you know it or not. But that taught me that other people can change, lives. So that Latin dude changed my life when he said, "Hey man, put your confidence up, take that shit off." That woman changed my life when she said, "Hey man, I still love you. I love you. I love your body. I love it the way that it is. Take it off. Take your shirt off." Boom. All of that combined gave me the confidence for the rest of the world. Now I was able to do that on your podcast and not have any, like no one can talk shit on your podcast. Someone could go in the comments right now and be like, "Yo, Andy got man titties." And I'll be like, "Yo, like, I love that
comment." Bro, I love that confidence, man. And that's on anything, brother. Okay, last two questions. And I have had so much. I knew I was going to have fun with you today, Andy, but I've had so much. You brought me so much value in my own life. I know you're going to bring tremendous value to our dream catchers. Last two questions for you, brother. Obviously, our dream catchers are going to want to connect with you. They're going to want to follow your journey. They're going to want to be inspired the way you've inspired me. And they're going to want to be able to connect with you. Where's the best place for them to do that?
Hey, go to andyaudate.com, ANDYAUDATE.com, or to learn more about the Progression Conference, which is a one-day business event where I train people on business growth now. And I train people how to get out of that rut and get financially free and understand how to sell themselves, how to market their personal brands, as well as the personal development that's needed to overcome challenges. Go to progressionticket.com. If you want to see me live in person, go to progressionticket.com. That's again, progressionticket.com.
And dream catchers, that's all going to be in the show notes. So if you're working out, you were driving, you were cooking, you were doing something else besides like looking and watching this podcast, it's going to be in the show notes. You'll be able to find Andy. Go and follow him. Go and get yourself to the conference. Like, honestly, this guy's crushing it if you haven't already figured that out from the podcast. Andy, last question for you, man. If you were to bump into yourself 10 years younger and you could only give one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
If I were to bump into myself 10 years ago?
Yep.
So 2010, I would, everything had its reasoning, but I mean, it would probably be on the confidence thing, man. It would probably be like, I was really in high school, I was shy and timid. And I acted out because of school. I'll really say, man, dude, I wouldn't say anything, man. I wouldn't say anything because I'm thinking about like what would I change? All right, I would change the like the people I was hanging around with, and so on and so forth. But it never got. But that gave me that aggression. Like those relationships is what gave me those hardcore relationships gave me aggression. That you see this face here, right? You see this face, and like that's how I feel on the inside. Like this is how I feel on the inside. You see this face, where it's like, yo, you're the fucking boss. Go get that shit. The opportunity's gonna show up. Take that shit. And then you see this face where I'm smiling. And it's like I also feel this way sometimes, but that's like the outside of me. And this is the determination to get whatever the fuck that I want. Someone asked me the other day on Instagram. He said, like I did a poll on Instagram. I said you can ask me questions, and then they were like, "What keeps you motivated?" I said, "Bro, I'm not motivated. I'm determined." Like you got to look up the word determined to understand. And determined means, by definition, is having made a firm decision and being resolved not to change it. That's the definition of determined. So I'm not motivated, I'm determined. So like this face on my left-hand side, where if for the people who are listening, this is just a picture of me holding a cigar in a suit without a smile, focused and fierce look to the camera, no smile, straight fierce look to the camera. And then to the right of me, there's another picture of me where I'm smiling with a cheesy smile that I use on a lot of my covers. There's two versions of me. This is perfect. I didn't even realize that, but there's two versions of me, and it's a matter of being determined that I'm gonna be successful, like, or I'm gonna die trying. Now, what I do want to leave your people off with is that I had a interesting experience the other day where I didn't realize I was essentially killing myself, like in my work ethic. And this is some real shit with this entrepreneur shit, hustle shit. So I have mentors, and I have a mentor who turned his company from $300 million to $3.4 billion. So he 10x his company. And it was in a 5-year time span. And he became a mentor and a friend of mine, and I started speaking for it. He brought me in to speak at his masterminds and things of that nature. So I reached out to him for support on scaling. And the reason why was because I put a post up where I went to bed at like 11 o'clock at night or at midnight and woke up at 3. And I was doing this regularly because I was working so much throughout the day to the wee hours of the morning. And he said, I remember when I had that energy when I was young like you, man. But, it's all about systems and scaling, because one day you can get sick. And it hit me like, yo, if I remove myself the way that I was at that time, if I remove myself from the business, my business wasn't thriving. So I was working myself to death. Eyes bloodshot red all the time. I'm completely sober. My eyes bloodshot red, falling asleep at the wheel. Not the ideal lifestyle. Then someone said to me, he said, man, you really are trying to get rich without trying, huh? And he said as a joke, but the sincerity and the honesty was there, where he's like, yo, you're really trying to get rich, or you're dying trying, and you're on the way of dying right now. So I learned about systems and scale. Now I have employees who work with me in my organization. What I failed in my first business to understand was that I subconsciously learned the systems and how to scale it from Metro PCS subconsciously. When I transitioned to a new business where the complete business was the Audate, the brand, I didn't know about creating systems and what roles were necessary. So I knew, like in the cell phone, like I knew you needed a store manager, knew you needed an office manager, I knew you needed a sales rep. I knew what each role did and how it worked together. In this new industry of business where I'm creating a brand, I just didn't know the roles. Like I didn't know what positions were needed. But like now I know that I need appointment setters, and I know I need sales and marketing managers, and I know I need executive assistants, and I know I need office admin and video editors. Like now I have the team. Now I know what's necessary, but back then I didn't. And so you don't want to get rich without trying. You just want to get rich.
Come on, man. I love that. That was good. That was super good. And that's some of the stuff that you teach at your conference, right?
Yeah, now I do. Yeah. So it's focused on 3 things: sales, marketing, personal development. The sales aspect is what I recognize is that when people are struggling financially, they can't thrive. They can't support other people. So the first thing I teach people is how to get money through sales of a product or service. And then the second thing is your sales are limited if you can't market effectively, where you got people coming in and contacting you. So you got to market effectively where people are number one, aware of you, number two, attracted to you, and number three, it converts. So sales is the first part, marketing is the second part, and then throughout the interim from where you currently are to where you want to be, there's going to be mental challenges. So you're going to get personal development at the seminar and people and accountability partners at the seminar. This is like the end all be. This is not the end all be all, but this is like the first step to really experiencing massive growth in a short period of time. For example, the shirt that I'm wearing right now, it says "Progress Daily" on it. I just got if you follow me on social media, I just got these batch of shirts in. Who created them? Well, there was a young dude that was in the audience at the Progression Conference in April of 2019, and he was working a 9-to-5 dead-end job, and it's been lurking on his mind for him to start a business. He came to the Progression Conference. Learned the event took place on Friday. Learned everything that he needed from sales, marketing, and personal development. By Monday, he quit his job, and now he runs his own apparel manufacturing company. And I called him a couple of days ago, and he's like, "Hey, Andy, I'm fulfilling a 10,000 piece order right now." So he's doing thousands and thousands of deals and orders now. But just a couple of months ago, he was at the event. He learned strategically how to sell, how to greet, how to qualify, how to present, how to close, how to build the brand, how to onboard clients, how to convert. And then on top of that, the challenges that he'll have on the come up, how to deal with those challenges through the personal development strategies that we teach at the event.
Dude, guys, dream catchers, you need to go and get yourself around Andy. Like, honestly, like this guy is going places. You watch the next decade, and you're just going to see him continue to skyrocket. One of the things, Andy, that I love about you is you keep giving back to that next level, to the person that is following behind you, and you're constantly growing, constantly seeking other mentors, constantly developing yourself and doing exactly what you're teaching everybody else to do. I want to say, man, thank you so much today. Like, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to connect with you. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Hey, John, thank you so much for having me on your show, man. It was really an honor.
Awesome, man. Dreamcatchers, first and foremost, you're already subscribed. We already know that. You've already gone ahead and left a review and rated the show. Here's what I want you to do. First, I want you to go and give Andy some love. Let him know that you listened to the episode. Go ahead and get yourself at the conference. Like, go and figure out a way to be in his world. On top of that, if this episode brought you value, I want you to go and I want you to send it to another dream catcher. Let them know what it did for you, and also let them know what you think it's going to do for them. We'll see you on the next episode.
John, thank you so much for the opportunity, man.